Close your eyes. Picture it. Alexandria, Egypt. The intellectual capital of the ancient world. Marble columns stretch towards a Mediterranean sky, and within their cool shadow lies the single greatest repository of knowledge ever assembled, the Great Library of Alexandria. It held hundreds of thousands of papyrus scrolls, the sum of all human knowledge, the works of Homer, Plato, the secrets of mathematics, astronomy, and medicine, a beacon of enlightenment. And then, fire, a single catastrophic inferno that reduced centuries of wisdom to ash, plunging the world into a dark age. It's one of the most tragic stories in history. The story of this cultural cataclysm has been told for 2,000 years, and it always has a villain. The prime suspect, Julius Caesar. In 48 BC, while besieged in the city, the Roman general set fire to the Egyptian fleet. The official story claims the flames leaped from the docks, out of control, and consumed the Great Library in a tragic accident of war. A monument to knowledge, destroyed by the necessities of conflict. If Caesar isn't the culprit, another is always waiting in the wings. Fast forward 4 centuries to 391 AD. A mob of Christian zealots, led by the patriarch Theophilus, storms through Alexandria on a mission to eradicate paganism. Their target is the Serapeum, a magnificent temple and a daughter library to the main institution. In this version of the story, the final repository of ancient wisdom is deliberately destroyed by religious fanaticism, its scrolls torn apart by those who feared the knowledge they contained. A military accident, an act of religious fury. 2 compelling stories, 2 clear villains. It's the history we've all been taught. But what if it's a lie? What if the greatest library in the world wasn't destroyed in a single, dramatic blaze? The modern historical and archaeological consensus is that it wasn't. The real story is far more insidious. It's a story without a single villain, without a single cinematic fire. So if the library didn't burn, what really happened to it? The real destruction of the Library of Alexandria was a death by 1,000 cuts, a slow decay that began centuries before the last scrolls disappeared. The first blow wasn't fire, but politics. In 145 BC, the ruler Ptolemy VIII, nicknamed Physcon, or Potbelly, for his legendary obesity, came to power. Described as paranoid and cruel, Physcon launched a brutal purge against the intellectuals of Alexandria, whom he suspected of disloyalty. He expelled all foreign scholars from the city, triggering a diaspora of Alexandrian scholarship. The library's greatest minds, including its head librarian, were forced to flee, taking their knowledge and the institution's prestige with them. The second cut was neglect. After the Purge, the later Ptolemaic rulers, mired in civil wars and economic crises, stopped funding the library with the same passion as their ancestors. This was a death sentence. The library's scrolls were made of papyrus, a fragile material that decays in Alexandria's damp climate. It required a massive, constant, and expensive effort by an army of scribes just to recopy the existing collection before it rotted away. Without funding, the scrolls were doomed. This wasn't destruction by a torch, it was destruction by a balance sheet. The decay wasn't just financial, it was institutional. The once hallowed position of head librarian, held by intellectual giants, devolved into a political prize. It was awarded to loyal cronies, even palace guards, instead of leading scholars. When Rome conquered Egypt, the decline accelerated. Alexandria became just another provincial capital. Its status diminished. Scholarship itself grew stagnant. The great minds of the library's golden age had created new knowledge. Now, scholars mostly wrote commentaries on older works. The library was becoming a museum in the worst sense of the word, a monument to a glorious past with no vital present. So let's return to our original suspects. What about Caesar's fire in 48 BC? Modern scholarship suggests the fire was real, but it destroyed warehouses near the port containing scrolls for export, perhaps 40,000 of them. A tragic loss, but not the destruction of the main library. The key witness is the historian Strabo, who worked in Alexandria decades after Caesar's fire and described the library's parent institution, the Mouseion, as still functioning, making no mention of it having been recently destroyed. And the Christian mob of 391 AD? They did destroy a temple, the magnificent Serapeum. And that temple did contain a smaller daughter library. But the detailed eyewitness accounts of the destruction, written by both Christians and pagans, focus obsessively on the smashing of the pagan statue of Serapis and the desecration of idols. They make no mention of a great library being burned. The crime was iconoclasm, the destruction of religious symbols, not a targeted war on books. The final physical destruction was as mundane as it was brutal. By the late 3rd century AD, the library was a ghost of its former self. The royal quarter of the city, the Bruchion, where the main library was located, was devastated during urban warfare. First, during the Emperor Aurelian's recapture of the city around 272 AD, and again during a siege by Diocletian in 297 AD. The library wasn't burned by a conqueror who feared its knowledge. It was simply in the way, collateral damage in a city fight, its final bricks falling long after its intellectual heart had stopped beating. So why does the myth of the Great Fire persist? Because it's a better story. It's simple. It's dramatic. It gives us a clear villain to blame for a profound loss. The truth is more complex and far more uncomfortable. The Library of Alexandria wasn't murdered. It was starved, neglected, and left to die from indifference long before the final walls came down. And that is the real secret lesson of Alexandria. It's a cautionary tale for our own time. The greatest threats to knowledge aren't always a barbarian with a torch. More often, it's the slow, creeping decay of budget cuts that let collections rot. It's the political cronyism that replaces experts with loyalists. It's the intellectual stagnation that stops valuing new ideas. And it's the societal indifference that simply stops caring. Great things are rarely lost with a bang. They are lost with a whimper, through the slow, quiet accumulation of bad decisions and shifting priorities. The Library of Alexandria is a warning written across 2 millennia. The things we fail to support, we will inevitably lose.